rescue me. I still need you to save me. Do you get the point? My friends, our initial rescue was awesome, and we must never forget it. It is the most significant and important moment in our lives. But hear me, we still need God's rescue plan to be operational in our lives today. We still need Jesus to rescue us today. We still need Him to save us. We really do. We continually need to be rescued. And here's why we need to remember this. You see, when we look around, we lose sight of our desperate condition. We lose sight of the fact that we still need to be rescued. We lose sight of the fact that apart from Christ, we are sinful and desperately evil people. And when we lose sight of that and our necessity of being rescued, things don't go too well for us, do they? Because when we get complacent about our rescue and when we take our eyes off the one and only rescuer, we find ourselves experiencing the same thing that Peter experienced. Because when we lose sight of our initial rescue and our need to be continually rescued, we can find ourselves going down just like Peter went down. And we find ourselves crying out, Jesus, rescue me. Jesus, save me. I still need you to rescue me. Don't ever let me forget it. You see, church, over time, we tend to forget it. We forget how desperate we are. So here's what we need to do. Very simple. We need to keep our eyes on Jesus. We need to keep our eyes on the Savior. He's the one who saves us. We need to keep our eyes on the one and only rescuer in the world. And when we do, get this. When we live focused on Jesus with a clear picture of our rescued life in view, guess what happens? We live a wonderful life because we appreciate and value the cost of our rescue. Now, I don't want to meddle, but I'm going to go down this pathway just for a minute, okay? Here's what happens to us. After we've served Jesus for a while, we kind of get this attitude of, yeah, I kind of deserve my rescue. Yeah, I kind of earned it. Because when God looked at me, He saw beneath this huge pile of sin that, I was kind of good. And I certainly didn't need to be rescued like Lance. Woo! And Craig, woo! Talk about needing rescue. And Mark back there, oh, I don't need that kind of rescue. I just see what happens? And we get a little not desperate enough. We completely forget about where we were when Christ found us. Church, here's what we need to do. Please hear me and take this to your heart. We need to live focused on Jesus with a clear picture of our rescued life in view. And when we do, we live a wonderful life because we appreciate and value the cost of our rescue. You see, when we keep our eyes on the only one who can rescue us, this is what happens. It empowers us to live a wonderful life because a rescued life is a wonderful life. When we realize how desperate that we are without Christ, and when we think about what our lives would be like if we had never experienced God's rescue, when we take that to our heart, and when we take that to our minds, and we think about it, it causes us to have a paradigm shift. It should cause us to have a paradigm shift so that we can never, ever look at our lives the same way again. My friends, we need to keep this picture in our minds. When Jesus left heaven, He dove headfirst into the dark waters of this earth. He dove into the murky waters of our life and the dirty waters of the sin and the results of our sin. And the raging sea and shame of our life would have taken us down. But He rescued us. And that rescue is the most powerful and most important event in our life. And hear me, church, we should never find ourselves being less appreciative of how He rescued us. We should always find ourselves being more appreciative because we understand in greater measure the magnitude and the extraordinary cost of our rescue and how it has resulted in us living a wonderful life. Towards the conclusion of this movie, It's a Wonderful Life, when George Bailey gets rescued and he realizes, he starts realizing how complete his rescue is. He realizes that he's got his life back. He has a paradigm shift, doesn't he? That's why we love the movie. He completely becomes almost like a totally brand new person. And it doesn't even matter to him what's going on in his life anymore. It just doesn't matter. He's a little bit slap happy. It doesn't matter that he's, facing jail, that he still owes $8,000. It doesn't matter that the situations are still bad. He doesn't care because, he's been rescued. And he's so overwhelmed by how good it feels to be rescued, and he appreciates the cost of his rescue. And George will never, ever, ever look at his life the same way again. And my friends, the very same should be true of us. The very same should be true of us. Because when we realize that we have been rescued, and get this, when we keep the memory of our rescue fresh in our hearts and in our minds, when we keep the story of how God reached down in love and He saved us forefront in our thoughts, and when we talk about how we were out on a stormy sea of sin and we were sinking and we were going down for the last time, but Jesus in love and grace and mercy reached out and He rescued us. My friends, when we keep our rescue where it should be in our lives, front and center, it reminds us of just what we've been given. And it doesn't matter what we face. When we think about it, we get about like George. We get a little slap happy because it's kind of irrelevant to us because, hey, we've been rescued. And we just haven't sort of been rescued. We've been like, woo! We've been rescued. We've been totally, eternally, and irrevocably rescued. You know what? When we think about that, my friends, we should never, ever be the same again. Because we should never, ever look at our lives in the same way again. You see, it really is true. It really is true. It's not just true because we're doing a movie series called It's a Wonderful Life. It's true because this book says it's true. A rescued life. A rescued life is a wonderful life. It really is, in every sense of the word. A rescued life is a wonderful life. We all need to be rescued. That's true, isn't it? But the cost of our rescue is way beyond our means. Only Jesus can rescue. So we must accept God's rescue plan. Very simple. Admit, accept, and appreciate the cost of our rescue. And when we do, we will experience a wonderful life. Because, hey, remember this Christmas season. A rescued life is a wonderful life. Let's bow our heads and pray. I can't let you go this morning without giving you an opportunity to experience a rescued life. If you're here this morning and you're saying, Pastor Harv, what you're saying is exactly where I'm at. I know that I need to be rescued. I need what you're talking about.